The younger generation has lost the art of the slow simmer, the slow build. Everybody wants insta fast, insta quick, instant gratification, rather than giving things the time needed to marinate. Mastery requires marination. My master teacher once told me, he said, build it and they will come, but love it and it will grow. The truth is, success only amplifies what's already there. For those who are on the path to building their wealth, it's first important to remember that inner alignment, inner wealth always leads to outer alignment and outer wealth. One does not come before the other. Anybody who thinks it's material first is setting themselves up for failure. I went from about 400 credit score to over 800 in the course of 6 years. Everybody can be wealthy if they discipline themselves.
What's going on, everybody? It's Dominic Alegrete, aka Dom the Cyber Genius, and welcome to Breach One, Teach One, where we break down real lessons, experiences, and actionable advice from world-renowned professionals. And today's episode is powered by the Youngest in Charge Network. Today, I have a super special guest who's near and dear to my heart. He's not only a mentor of mine, but he's a Nike trainer. He's a performance coach. He's also a retreat founder, an author. He's also a TEDx speaker, and he's someone that's near and dear to my heart, and I consider him like a soul dad to me. Give it up for Branden Collinsworth. Thank you, bro, for coming on the show.
It is such an honor to be here. I can't believe we're finally doing this. I've known you since you were about this tall.
Yeah.
And look at you. I've never seen a podcast host with more swag than you right now.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. I got all the swag from my pops and you, man.
Hey.
I got good teachers, so it just makes it easy to put it together.
Yeah, it's such an honor to be here, and I'm so excited just to dive deep. We got so many codes, so many experiences that we've shared, and wow, like to be here finally just to, go deep is amazing.
Yeah, man, I'm super blessed. Thank you again for the opportunity. Just to give you like a little bit of context, I created Breach One, Teach One because in cybersecurity, there's these things called breaches, and that's when a company gets hacked and something gets taken from them. But how I like to see it is that breach can mean so many different things, right? Like a breach can be a moment in time where you had a failure or you had to, go through something or just anything that, you had to just overcome in your journey. And I feel like that's what breaches is. And what I did was I took the concept of each one, teach one, because I feel like the only way to bridge the talent gap in any industry we're in is if we teach each other. So I took that and put breach on top of it. And that's where I got Breach One, Teach One. And pretty much I just want to interview people that are not just in cybersecurity, the health and wellness space and finance, but people like yourself, Branden, that have been through the fire, have gone through the rigors of entrepreneurship, and have actually been able to come out on the other side successful. And I want to not only just be able to share stories like yours, but just tell the people and give them actionable advice on like what it is that they need to do to, level up and really generate that wealth for themselves, not just financially, but physically, mentally, spiritually, and, the whole nine. So that's kind of what it is. And, you ready to start, man?
Yeah, that's it. It's about teaching people how to fish instead of just giving them fish. So when you give people those action items based off of your previous knowledge, based off of the wisdom bodies that you bring in here, it elevates the whole all ships rise.
Right.
Yeah.
Nah, for sure, man. You teach a man how to, you can tell a man how to swim, but if you teach him how to fish, it's
different.
It's different for sure. But yeah, just getting it started, man. Could you just tell us a little bit more about like your journey, role that you actually do, and just give people a little bit of picture of who Branden Collinsworth is if this is their first time seeing you?
So first and foremost, thank you to everybody for tuning in. Dom is one of my favorite humans on the planet Earth. One of the things that I love most about Dom is that he walks the walk. We live in an age where so many people talk the talk, but to be able to walk the walk, to be embodied, that truly is the cheat code of our times. And so to be here, to be able to go on this journey with you, to see how you've grown from such a little pup all the way into such a remarkable young man, it's an honor. And it's been cool because you've seen me in a lot of different chapters of my life. When I first started out in the fitness space before things took off to a world-class level, and I say that with so much humility because to arrive at world class requires a lot of sacrifice. It requires a lot of dedication. It requires a lot of devotion. It requires a lot of discipline. But to arrive there, a lot of people oftentimes only see the outcome. They never see the inception point. And for me, my inception point was the streets of East Las Vegas.
Mhm.
And for those that don't know me, for the first 18 years, that was my life, caught up in street life, caught up in poverty, caught up in depression, caught up in alcohol, caught up in weed, caught up in trying to figure out who I was. And it wasn't until I was sitting at a bus stop when I was 18 years old. I was broke, I was homeless, I was hopeless. And I looked over to my left side and there was a guy sitting there that kind of looked like me, but the light in his eyes had died. And something inside me told me that if I did not change, that was going to be me. And I didn't know how I was going to get out of that situation at that time. At that time, I never left East Las Vegas, but I made a decision that I was going to do whatever I could to change my life. And the first thing that came to me was I need to start really reading books. I got on that bus, that public bus at 18 years old, and I've been on the journey ever since.
Mhm.
You know, they say that the longest journey you'll ever go on is the 18 inches from the head to the heart, or a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Right.
That was my first step forward. And what was powerful is at the moment, if somebody would have told me all of the sacrifice, all of the pain, all of the
Mhm.
trials, all of the tribulations that I would have had to go through to make it to where I am today, I might not have done it. But also, if you ask me, was it worth it? Absolutely. And for me, it took 20 years to become an
Mhm.
overnight success. I went from high school dropout, statistical poverty, impoverished in my mind and my spirit, to becoming the first in my family ever to graduate for college. From there, becoming one of the only people out of East Las Vegas to go to the Ivy Leagues and get a master's degree in psychology.
Mhm.
I ended up becoming a trainer, not only becoming a trainer, but opening up 4 gyms, which inevitably led to me being signed to Nike. I eventually was reunited with my father at
Mhm.
25 years old, which brought me to Peru and brought me into the world of humanitarian work and plant medicine. And
Mhm.
I've had this beautiful opportunity to learn, teach, expand, grow, share all over the world. And so now at 41 years old,
Mhm.
I'm at this place where it's about how can I give back? How can I be the wind under other people's sails based off of my own journey, my
Mhm.
own pain, my own lessons? And I think that's why we're here. Muhammad Ali says that service is the rent that we pay for our time here on earth. And I truly
Mhm.
believe that that's what it's all about. All of the wins, all of the successes,
Mhm.
if we can't use it to uplift others, what's it for?
Right. No, for sure, man. That was deep, man. There's so much stuff I wanted to touch on and talk
Yeah.
about. I know we're gonna get to later. I know you were touching on, you running different gyms and being signed to Nike and being a performance
Mm-hmm.
coach. One thing I really want to touch on with this podcast is the actual advice to
Mm-hmm.
start, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't think a lot of people in this generation have an information problem, because things are everywhere. There's ChatGPT, there's Google, whatever you need to do,
Mm-hmm.
it's there, YouTube
Mm-hmm.
University. But I think the issue is like a starting problem and actually having a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, especially in my industry in cybersecurity, people like to, you know, dumb down things, or they don't give you like full in-depth action items to do to actually help you excel and level up
Right.
in your career. So like my question to you is like, if somebody wants to try to be like Branden Collinsworth, or let's just say, they want to be a yoga trainer or a
Mm-hmm.
performance coach, where do you think they should start? Like what plan would they,
Mm-hmm. Of
what would you suggest? Cause like, are there certifications you should get?
course.
Are there degrees you have to go after, or are there like places you have to travel to that you're getting, the highest level of training from
Mm-hmm.
these master teachers?
I would say all of the above.
Mm,
And that's a great question. Beyond training and beyond being a performance coach, every industry has its first steps. Whether you're in cybersecurity, whether you're trying to be a doctor, whether you're trying to be a coder, whether you're trying to be a trainer, the key is to take that first step. Sometimes
mhm,
that first step is clear, like to get a certification. Sometimes that first step takes time for it to reveal itself. But the beauty of momentum comes online when a person takes a step forward towards their dreams, towards their goals,
mhm,
towards their highest expression of self. Again, like I often say, like for me, it took 20 years of nothing changing to get to that 1 year that changed my
right,
life. Now, was that really the situation? Actually, there was a lot changing beneath the soil. It just took a long time for it to begin to materialize so that publicly people began to see it. For me, though, key thing in this day and age and time is embodiment.
Mhm.
With ChatGPT, with Claude, it's easy for people to fake mastery. The
Right.
younger generation has lost the art of the slow simmer, the slow build. Everybody wants insta fast, insta quick,
Instant gratification.
instant gratification rather than giving things the time needed to marinate. Mastery requires marination, mastery requires time. The reason why I'm so dedicated to martial arts
Mhm.
is because there's truth serum in the process of becoming a black belt. You can't skip from white belt to straight black belt.
Right.
Little by little, moment by moment, you have to acquire the skills. And as those skills become more embodied, so too does the practitioner. The practitioner begins to embody a deeper level of that skill set. So for those who are on the path in whatever endeavor it may be, the key is to first start
Yeah.
and then stay in the game long enough for the skills to come online. A
Mhm.
lot of people think that once they get to the 10,000 hours,
They've been complete, like
they've
you
been complete.
but
Yeah.
that's just the start, though.
Yeah, I always say 10,000 hours is just the doorway into the game.
Mhm.
And for somebody who's young, say like 18, 19, in their 20s, 10,000 hours might mean you have to commit to something until you're 30 plus years old. That seems like a long time,
Mhm.
but in the grand scheme of it, the one thing that nobody can take from you is mastery.
Mhm.
And there's a difference between having access to the knowledge and having embodiment of the knowledge. Access to the knowledge is ChatGPT,
Yeah.
make me sound like I'm a master.
Right, right.
Embodiment of the knowledge is I am a master.
Mhm.
And that's a different ballgame. That is the most potent fashion statement you could wear is mastery.
Mhm.
That's the most powerful accessory you could wear is mastery. And what happens when you go deep enough into the game of mastery,
Mhm.
at first it might look like everybody else when you're just learning the skill sets initially.
Mhm.
But eventually, as you begin to sharpen those skill sets, you begin to create a style all your own. And that's when swagger comes online.
Yeah.
All the greats, one of my favorite, Pablo Picasso, if you look at his artistic body of work,
Mhm.
there was many times where he had to reinvent himself. And every time he reinvented himself, a new style came online. For those who are on the path, that is the beauty of committing to the path,
Mhm.
is that you might have an idea of where it's taking you, and then all of a sudden it evolves into something completely different. Some new colors come online. But people will never get to experience that if they don't take the journey. And I always say consistency over intensity. Intensity is New Year's resolutions. I'm going super hard for a
Yeah.
week. I'm going to try to get this certification. I'm going to go hard for my goals for just a couple months, and then you fade out. Consistency is every day, daily deposit, daily deposit, daily deposit. And eventually, time compounds. And the earlier a person can do that,
Mhm.
the more reps they're going to be able to put in. And the more reps you're able to put in, the more closer you're going to get to that ethereal, metaphorical door of mastery where the game just begins to change.
Man, that was deep, man. Like, you touched on so much stuff, and, like, I feel like a big thing that comes from that is just having, like, the love and passion
That's it.
for the actual thing that you're doing, because I know probably somebody w if they're watching this, they're like, "Oh, what about the specific certification or, the specific
Hmm.
degree?" And, like, yes, those things are needed, but everybody's journey is different.
Hmm.
What I like about just the journey of life, but especially in my industry too, like, there's no one set fits all type of
Hmm.
journey. Everybody's
Hmm.
journey is different. And like, I think a big point of it is you have to understand your why. You have to understand, do you actually have passion for this specific thing? And then you have to just continue to do it. And like,
Hmm.
also maybe even touch on it too, like not beating yourself up
Right.
because you said consistency over intensity. Not every day is gonna look like a Kobe Bryant day where you're scoring 30, 40 points. Some days you're only gonna have 3 points,
Hmm.
but maybe you got 2 rebounds. So it's like, could you also talk about the mindset and maybe like the other things that you need to elevate, because it's more than just the titles and it's more just the technical stuff.
Yeah, you just touched on it, Dom, is love. And, shout out rest and power to Kobe Bryant, Mamba mentality. One of his most powerful clips they said, "Why are you so successful?" And he's like, "It's love. It's absolute love of the game, loving what you do."
Mhm.
I would say to anybody who is on the path, and even people who are starting out, but also people who have been on the path for a long time, without love, it's hard to show up.
Mhm.
Without love, it's hard to stay consistent.
Yeah.
But when you have love there, you're going to show up regardless. Like for me,
Mhm.
fitness, movement, my body, the workout, I've been doing that since third grade.
Yeah.
There's been so many nights where I've been training all by myself. There's nobody there for years. I never thought it would become a career that took me around the world,
Right.
but the love of it kept me in the game. And when you love it, then you don't even count the hours. 10,000 hours is like, give me 30,000 hours. Like, let
Right.
me stay in it as long as I need to stay in the game. And then what comes online is the quote by Bruce Lee, where he goes, absorb what's useful, discard what's not, add what is uniquely your own. This is important in a day and age of imitation, and in a day and age of clones, in a day and age
Mhm.
of everybody trying to compete against everybody else. I want to put out the same type of reels or the same type of podcast. I want to be like everybody else. Imitation in that sense is a fast track to turning off one's gifts.
Mhm.
What our gifts ask of us is to be uniquely ourselves. And part of being in the process and loving the process is you eventually figure out your own style.
Yeah.
This is how you innovate the game. So it's like, all right, I need the foundationals.
For
Like
sure.
in training, for example, you need to understand how the body moves. You need to understand like certain biomechanics and biologies.
Mhm.
You need to understand like certain psychological methods. But after that, it begins to be a thing of style and art. And so I feel like the key word that embodies anybody in any industry who has unleashed their gift in their unique way is artist.
Mm.
We are all artists. And whether it's coding, whether it is workouts, whether it's basketball, whether it's business, our love and passion becomes the paintbrush that we get to paint our masterpiece with.
Mhm.
This is the beauty of it. And there was a quote that my master teacher once told me. He said, build it and they will come, but love it and it will grow. Build the skill set and all the opportunities will come. Build the skill set, all the people will come. But if you add that recipe of heart and love into it as well, that's the X factor. And that's the difference maker between those who float at the bottom of their respective career and those who break through all the way to the top into uncharted territories.
For sure. Like you've told me plenty of times, it's like, to get what you've never had, you have to do what you've never done.
That's
And
it.
like the only way that you could do that is if you have the passion, you have the love. But that time takes research too. Like you
Yeah,
have to sit down and really ask yourself, like, what do I like? What aligns with my soul? What aligns with my spirit? What aligns with my skills? And I
that's
think
it.
once you find that alignment, it's then a process of getting better each and every day. That leads me into my next thing because we all can't do this alone. Name a billionaire that became a billionaire by themselves. You can't.
Hmm.
So the one thing I want to touch on too is mentorship because, because mentorship, I can't even fathom where I would be out without it. With people like yourself
Hmm.
mentor me, people like Alex Weiss, Sylvester McNutt, Brandon Mitchell, Ahmed Naf, just to name a few people that have been tremendous mentors in my life. How important is having a good mentor and like what does a mentor provide for somebody that like a podcast or even like a YouTube video can't because they've gone through the
Hmm.
ringer. So I would love to hear that from you.
Yeah, and I agree because I wouldn't be where I am without mentors
Hmm.
and teachers. And it goes so much deeper than the current present moment in time we live in. Once upon a time, when all of us, our ancestors,
Hmm.
were rooted in indigenous ways, when it was time to become a man or it was time to step into a deeper level of purpose and responsibility, all the elders of the tribe, all the grandpas and all the uncles and all the brothers and all the grandmas and all the aunties would help guide that individual into a more aligned, more purposeful, more rooted expression of themselves.
Hmm.
What's happened in our modern day age is we've kind of lost those family units. So a lot of us have to go out and seek and learn from mentors. One of the ways that people are exposed to mentors is like through sports and having a
Hmm.
coach and things like that. But again, when you really break down what a mentorship or a mentor relationship with a mentee, when you break down the essence of that, what a mentor gets to offer that person is this essence of being able to guide them
Mhm.
in a way that is rooted off their own experience. It's like, if you've walked the path before, these are the lessons that I've learned. These are my failures. Don't repeat what I did wrong. Do what I know is right.
Mhm.
And just in that alone, that advice can change the game. You know, Napoleon Hill talked about the concept of the mastermind. You can literally gain a person's whole entire life experience with one conversation. What took them 20, 30 years and so much pain, so much tears, boom, when they step into that space and they're your mentor or they're sharing their wisdom with you, you gain all of that. Mentors come in different shapes, sizes, and
Yeah.
capacities.
Mhm.
Sometimes mentors come in the form of books. Sometimes mentors come in in the form of a deep relationship with God. Sometimes mentors come in the forms of plants, like the journey that I've been on with working with plant medicines in the jungles. Sometimes mentors come in the form of tough love. But when a mentor is truly, truly in your life, what happens is a good mentor is going to reflect back to you some of the things you don't even see in yourself.
Mm.
And there's nothing more powerful than somebody seeing the highest version of you, even if you don't see it. For a lot of people who are young on the path that are just starting out, they might not have the confidence yet to believe in
Yeah.
themselves fully. But when you bring that mentor who sees your potential, sees your potency, sees your gifts, and is confident enough inside themselves to extend themselves in a way that helps you step deeper into your power, your potency, your passion, your purpose, your potential, it's a game changer. It's really important, though, to remember this important aspect of being a mentor, because some mentors will only mentor their mentees to a point that they don't become better than them.
Yeah.
And that's when the mentor-mentee relationship can become distorted. The real key is, and I say this in one of my pieces that I wrote, that goes, true greatness is to help others step into their greatness too, even if it means that their greatness makes them greater than you. This was told to me by a mentor,
Mhm.
that he told me I can never be afraid to help somebody become better than myself. And I would say that a true mentor, when they come at a mentee with that energy, it's a game changer. So to be a mentor is an honor, and to find your mentor is also a great honor. And I don't know anybody who's gone to the top of the game and hasn't had somebody that is guiding them.
Yeah, you heard it, man. Mentors are like a cheat code for sure. Like a thing I also want to touch on with that, because I've had my own experiences with mentors, and
Hmm.
you even talking about like the greatness thing and like how what true mentors really look
Hmm.
like.
Hey everybody, I created something called the Youngest in Charge Network. This network is for young professionals who want more out of life and are serious about leveling up. If this interests you, join my school community to learn more about it.
How does somebody actually find these mentors?
Hmm.
Because sometimes mentors may come in the form where, hey, I'll mentor you, but only if you pay X amount of
Hmm.
dollars, or I'll only mentor you for this amount of time and then you got to get away. Like,
Hmm.
where should somebody that's young look for a mentor? I know there's different
Hmm.
routes and different
Hmm.
outlets that you said, but like if somebody needs that person, because I feel like I'm mature, but not every young person is mature enough to be able to seek a mentor in a book or within their higher power.
Of course. One of the key phrases that we stand in a lot of times when we talk about high potential or moving with, purpose is radical responsibility. So it doesn't matter what age you are, whether you're young or you've been in the game for a long time. Like, to take radical responsibility means that we have a responsibility to show up as our best.
Hmm.
When one does the work, even if they're just starting out, that vibration is going to attract other individuals that see that vibration. So when, as a guy who's been on the path for a long time, when I see somebody who's hungry and they're young and they're embodying what they say they're embodying and they're going after their goals, I want to get behind that.
Yeah.
So I think the first step is to really walk the walk as best you can as a young individual, even a person who's not young,
Hmm.
be about it. Get in the lab and do your absolute best, even if your best is absolutely messy. That's the first key to honor the pathway of becoming. And that doorway opens up relationships that might have never been able to be accessed had one not been giving their everything. The second thing is like asking for support. When I was young, working at the Wynn Hotel, spa attendant, taking care of these rich guys all the time in Las Vegas, every person that came in there, I'd ask them what their favorite book was. They would tell me their favorite book. I would try to go to Barnes and Nobles because a lot of times these guys would stay for like 3 to 5 days at the Wynn Hotel. I would try to go to Barnes and Nobles. I would try to get the book, read the book, and then come back and talk to them about the book.
Mm-hmm.
And when those individuals saw that I was that hungry, they were like, let me know what you need. Here's my email address. Stay in touch. And that was one of the most powerful things that helped my career truly begin to blossom. The other thing is like, I've had a lot of mentors that were just seasonal mentors. Sometimes mentors are meant to be in your life for just a season.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they are meant to be in your life for a lifetime. It's really important to know when that season ends. Sometimes that season is to get you in the game and get you ready for the next level, and that's it. And so teachers come and go.
Yeah.
But the one thing to always remember, they say that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But when the student is really ready, the teacher disappears because the teacher is you.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, the most important thing that I emphasize all the time is the relationship that we have with ourselves. And that there, when that is nutrient rich, when that is grounded, when that is rooted, when a person truly knows thyself, the game changes and you begin to push away everything that's not for you. And like a magnet, you begin to attract everything that is for you.
Not for sure. I think attraction definitely is key, but one thing I keep getting from the entire conversation that we're having, and that I feel that is important, especially when it comes to mentors and seeking it out, is
Mhm.
just authenticity and
That's
being
it.
able to just be yourself no matter what. Like with me, like I'm quiet, I'm well reserved, I'm laid back, but like no matter what environment I'm in, no matter who I'm around, I'm gonna be my chill, Dom self. So like, touching on authenticity and touching on like us being within, like it's a two-part relationship, right?
Yeah,
Because it's not just the mentor giving the game to the mentee. The
yeah.
mentee also has to be receptive. The mentee has to be hungry.
Mhm.
You've mentioned what you were doing, how you were reading the book from every person that was at the spa hotel and then
Mhm.
telling them about it. Like with me, I remember I was, the lead intern in my role, and I'm helping people actually, get onto the meetings and work
Mhm.
learning the curriculum and staying up 2, 3 a.m. with one of my first mentors in cybersecurity just doing the work.
Mhm.
So, like, how important is it, or like, what would you say is like, how important, I guess, would you say is the mentee's role in the relationship and what they have to do to make sure the relationship stays where it needs to be?
Yeah, I would say that all the responsibility falls on the mentee. Again, from, the concept that I just expressed of radical responsibility. Like, as soon as we give our power away, we lose our
Mm,
sovereignty. And that might sound a little like off because, yeah, if somebody's ahead of you or older than you, you expect them to be like, all
mhm,
right, they're going to take me under their wing and do all the work for me, even if I'm not showing up fully. But there's something really powerful in saying, like, I'm going to give everything I got. I'm going to show up in my most powerful way. I'm going to show up fully. I'm going to show up as true as I can and know that regardless if that mentor
mhm,
shows up the same way, you've done that. You can rest at night knowing that you gave everything you needed for that relationship to blossom. Again, like the journey is always pointing us back to ourselves.
mhm,
And part of the skill of building confidence over time is acquiring many micro wins over time. Micro wins come in the form of doing what you say you're going to do.
yeah,
Micro wins come in the form of being pressure tested.
mhm,
Micro wins come in the form of failure and getting back off the ground when you fall straight on your back. And what a good mentor will be is just a guiding light. What you don't want to have is a mentor that takes away the struggle from you. And I think a lot of people who are starting out, they want to like lighten their load
yeah,
instead of actually saying, give me everything I need to become who I need to become. So a good mentor is going to leave you in the fires long enough for it to transform you, but they might sit in the fires with you a little bit and be like, "You're good. Keep going. Keep it up." That's the power of a healthy mentor-mentee dynamic, not a codependent
Yeah.
mentor-mentee dynamic. And this is really important. Again, like in yoga, we always say, do the sadhana, unlock the cities. The sadhana is translated to like the everyday practice, showing up to your mat.
Mm.
Every day showing up to your mat, you inevitably unlock the gifts. And that's really what it's about. Chop wood, carry water, show up every day to the mat, show up every day to your thing, and trust that what is built there is going to influence everything else.
Yeah, man, that's so deep. Like, so many questions I have and so much thoughts, but like you've definitely changed just in this few minutes we've been talking about mentors because I know I've had some in my life that were in there for a season, and sometimes it is tough to
Hmm.
have to see them go, but they all teach you lessons for sure. I want to touch on something on more of a personal note when it comes to mentorship. You are the only mentor that I've had that is like see me since yay big, like
Yeah.
since I was 4 to 5 years old. For those that don't know, Brandon and my dad ran a nonprofit organization in Las Vegas called Jump for Joy. They ran fitness camps over the city and they pretty much were there to help kids fight childhood obesity. And, I was one of those kids that was at every single camp and I've
Yeah.
been at every single camp from, since I was 4 to 5 years old. I wanted to ask you, like, what did you think of me at that age? Like, I know you probably can't predict nothing, right? But like, did you think I would, get to this point? Like, what would you say you saw in me that, you maybe didn't see in the other kids?
Yeah. Well, the first thing people need to know is you had dance moves like no other. And you were always the one breaking it down and boogieing. I'm surprised you didn't become a professional dancer because I thought that was going to be the path.
Ball took over from that one, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But the one thing that has always been there is your willingness to be fully in the fire and to give it your all. And I think that's one of the textures that, you know, people appreciate about you. I know I do, is you're all in on all in when it comes to your thing. You do your very best. Even if sometimes you feel like it's not enough, one of the things I appreciate most about you is that you give it your all. And this is why at such a young age, you are positioning yourself in such a potent and powerful way. And it has been beautiful to see that some of the things that were instilled back in the Jump for Joy days, the living a positive life, having a positive mindset, taking care of your body, taking care of your health, remembering to like keep positive role models around you, to now be in your 20s
Mhm.
and have all of that data and to see all of that begin to blossom into who you are, it's really powerful and I'm not surprised. What's cool is you've become beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And what's also cool is you're just getting started. And this is why, like, I'll be
Mm,
telling you, like,
mm,
stay focused,
mm.
stay aligned, keep doing the work because the blossoming is beginning to happen in so many beautiful ways and it's going to continue to happen. So, devotion, dedication, discipline, these are the things to keep the ascension going. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yes, sir, will do. I'll probably say this probably multiple times within the pod, but just, thank you, man. I don't know if I've ever even said it like that, just
Mm.
for, your mentorship and like the role you've played in my life. Like, it's like a brother-brother relationship, but you're old enough to be my dad a little bit. So like I cause that's why I introduced you as like a soul dad.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever told you that because it's like I see like a second dad in you in a sense. And
Mhm.
like, even though we're busy and sometimes we're not talking every day, but
Mhm.
we get our talks in. I just appreciate just the love you've had for me, the way you've embraced me, the willingness to
Mhm.
take me to Peru, the fact that you stood with friends with my dad for 20 plus years and you've been in the trenches with him, the fact to, hear your stories about my dad and hear how highly you think of him. Like he always talks about me to other people. And like, I don't know if he probably gets the same feeling where like when I hear somebody talk about my dad in a positive light or just in any light, it's like I get chills. So like, thank you, man, for
Yeah.
for that.
It's an honor, honestly.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because when we finally got you to Peru, it'd been some time since we'd seen each other.
Yeah, almost like I want to say 10 years almost.
Yeah, and I remember we were walking on the side of the Andean mountains in the middle of Peru up to Intipunku,
Hmm.
and I just felt just like fam right there.
Hmm.
I was like, Dom, even though it's been so many years, like this is one of my soul fams right here. And again, that hasn't even been that long, and so much has transpired since then.
Yeah.
And that's what's really cool. And one of the things I'll say, going back to like the mentee mentor relationship, when a mentor really sees that you're walking the walk, they're gonna want to get behind you. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I see time and time again when it comes to you, is how many people see that you walk that walk. And this is why world-class individuals got your back. So you gotta let them all them know out there that you got some uncles and some brothers that don't play.
Some heavy hitters
Some
for
heavy
sure.
hitters.
Yeah. Nah, man, thank you so much. Like, you keep touching on the mentee and mentor thing. I think
Mhm.
just to like sum it all up, like, we're not perfect, right?
That's
I'm
it.
not perfect. There's times where I mess up. There's times where my dad's excuse my language, chewing my ass out because I didn't pick up all the dog poop. Like, he's on me. So like, you're not perfect, but it's just about showing up every day and just
Mhm.
putting in that 1%. And like, if you're really dedicated to it, things will happen and things will correspire. It's just about the drive, the hunger, and then also having the faith with it for sure.
That's it.
I wanna switch gears a little bit because I feel like this next topic I wanna talk about is a little bit, I don't wanna say sensitive, but I feel like people need to talk about it.
Mhm.
And it's about like finances and money because,
Mhm.
in the end, I'm gonna get to the health later. Obviously, health is pretty much the most important. If your body doesn't work, then you can't do
Mhm.
anything. But you can have the best health in the world, you can have the best job in the world, but if you're not managing your finances right, then you won't be able to have the freedom to do what you want whenever you want, however you want, with
Mhm.
who you want. So my question for you is because, you're a Nike yoga trainer, you've been a retreat founder, so many other things, but there was a point in time where that wasn't the case. There
Yeah.
was a point in time where you had some business things that went wrong. You don't got to go in depth because I've heard some of the stories, but you had went broke.
Mhm.
And during that time, what did it teach you? One, about yourself, but then
Mhm.
two, what did it teach you, or how did it change your relationship with money?
Great question. Growing up in poverty,
Mhm.
growing up with no positive role models or examples when it came to money, the only thing I was taught about money is every year when that tax return came, we go blow it all at Walmart and get some Nikes, and that's it. And we stay broke, and that was comfortable. And what was interesting and what I started to realize as I started to get money is every time I got a little bit of money, I would go back to broke because my nervous system was more comfortable with being broke than being wealthy.
Mhm.
Money, deeper than it being a material thing, is an energetic thing. And wealth is a nervous system tonality.
Yeah.
We have to align our nervous system to the frequency of wealth. And that might sound very esoteric and quantum to some individuals, but I say this to say, like, as we become more whole and aligned, and as we work through the wounds of whether it be poverty or trauma or whatever, our vibration shifts. And as our vibration shifts and becomes more expanded,
Mhm.
I feel that our relationship to money also changes. And this is the important thing to say. It's a relationship.
Mhm.
Money is a relationship type of thing. And not all money is good money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that got a lot of money that are in prison. I call it golden handcuffs. I know a lot of millionaires that are stuck being slaves of their money because they're not free. So it's not just about making money. It's not just about finances. It's about the type of wealth
Mhm.
that allows for one to be able to do what they want, when they want, where they want, how they want, with who they want, anytime they want, any place they want.
Mhm.
And what I've learned is that when we are in alignment with our dharma, when we are in alignment with our truth, when we are in alignment with our mission, we open up the doors for God, aka the universe, aka energy, to meet us in a way that allows for us to continue to bring our mission to life in the most powerful way imaginable. And that also includes money. But that doesn't mean that money is top of the totem pole.
Yeah.
That means that there could be money as a part of that formula, which I've noticed it often is, but it's also
Mhm.
healthier relationships.
Yeah.
It's also a healthier mindset. It's also a healthier inner world. It's also a healthier spiritual connection. It's also a healthier environment. All of these things are aspects of wealth that inevitably come online as a result of our own inner and outer alignment. One of the greatest gifts I was ever given was going broke,
Mhm.
losing my gyms, and having to move back home when I was 33 years old, back to the east side of Las Vegas. My credentials, said I was a Nike master trainer and a global performance coach. And I'm actually having to move back home with my mom with $0 because I made some moves that were in alignment with my highest truth. But inevitably, I ended up losing my gyms and having to,
Mhm.
eat a humble sandwich.
Right.
What I learned in being broke is that zero is not empty.
Mhm.
Zero is actually full of substance. Most people never get the opportunity to go to zero. Most people have never gotten the opportunity to truly remove everything to see what's there. And what I realized is that when I was at my lowest when it comes to my financial, literally $0. I spent my last $14 at Circle K. It was middle of 2020, depressed. I was like, I need to go get me some Cheetos and like a Monster Energy drink. I was completely off at that time. And I realized that zero is full of substance.
Mhm.
My mission still was alive, even though I had nothing. My ability to choose was still alive, even though I had nothing. And it was in that space I asked myself, how can I serve? If the universe is a responsive universe, if God is truly listening, maybe I need to stop asking, what can I get? And at my brokest, when I should be trying to get more, I asked, how can I serve? And that 6 years ago is what I built my next chapter off of.
Mhm.
And that right there has catapulted into generational wealth. And nothing within that has to do with numbers.
Yeah.
Everything in that has to do with alignment, purpose, and most importantly, service.
Mhm.
People want to know how to get wealthy, serve more. People want to know how to break out of generational poverty, serve more. The more we can serve, the more we can share, the more we can empower, the more we can amplify, you will always be rewarded with an energetic equivalent, which oftentimes comes in the form of wealth and all types of wealth, including dollar bills.
Yeah, and it may not happen overnight, right? You may
Yeah.
not get that, but, putting others first and actually giving from the right place, I think that will entirely
Hmm.
be able you'll be able to get blessed sooner, rather than later. But I want you to expand
Hmm.
on it just a little bit
Hmm.
more because you were talking about alignment in your relationship.
Hmm.
But like, how does someone not get caught up with greed? Because it's hard, especially with social media nowadays.
Hmm.
You see all the fast cars, you see everybody
Hmm.
having the blings and having the shoes, and
Hmm.
as humans, we tend to gravitate that. And I'm not saying nobody should be not buy what it
Right.
is that they want, but how would you say, or how could someone not let greed get caught get them caught up in a sense? Because we know greed is a powerful thing, and this definitely taken a lot of men out during this century and this entire world of life for sure.
It continues to take a lot of men out.
Mhm.
Many rappers have said it: more money, more problems.
Iggy.
Yeah, shout out to Biggie. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. And a lot of people think that once they become successful, all of a sudden, everything is just going to miraculously become perfect.
Mhm.
The truth is, success only amplifies what's already there. So if you're not a good person, if you're shady, if you're out of integrity, if you don't have your vices in check, if you're a cheater, if you're a liar, that doesn't leave just because success comes online. In fact, success just amplifies what's already there. This is again why the deep work is so important. This is why it is so important to cultivate that inner integrity, to have a code, to move with the code, to have people around you who are going to check you when you're moving out of alignment. Because success, if you don't have that stuff, becomes just a fuel for the darkness that we see everywhere in the world right now. On the flip side, when your success is rooted in integrity, rooted in alignment, rooted in being a good person, rooted in compassion, rooted in love, rooted in helping other people, that's a different level of success. And this
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you got to be broke and that you can't have nice things.
Mhm.
You know, there's beauty in being able to like buy what you want, and have some of the most incredible things that this life has to
Mhm.
offer. But the frequency behind it is everything. And the other thing too is like a lot of people accessorize because they don't feel like they're enough.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful questions a person can ask is, if they felt like they were enough inside, would they still want that thing? Again, that points us back to that inner work. And so
Mhm.
for those who are on the path to building their wealth, it's first important to remember that inner alignment, inner wealth always leads to outer alignment and outer wealth. One does not come before the other. Anybody who thinks it's material first
Mm.
is setting themselves up for failure. Or, and I always say this, even if you happen to just by accident become successful, you won't keep it because you haven't built the inner reservoirs of power to keep the wealth, the healthy wealth. This is the biggest invitation of our times is like, what are we building on? Are we building on quicksand? Or are we building on a strong foundation? And there's an African proverb that I love that says, when the roots are deep, there's no reason to fear the storm.
Mhm.
Storms are going to come in many, many different capacities. And no matter how much wealth you have, you can't avoid the storms. But when you build it in a way that is foundationally strong, you're able to weather the storms. And I read something recently that said, storms are there to do two things, to show you what's solid and to destroy what's not.
Mm.
And that's what happens if you don't build something in alignment. Little storm comes through life, everything gets taken down. And there's so many examples where we can see that
Yeah.
playing out.
Nah, for sure. I think it all just starts from the heart, and I think it
That's
starts
it.
from, what you love and your passions,
Hmm.
and obviously your environment and who you grow up with, plays a part in that. But at the end of the day, I think you have to kind of ask yourself like what you value and what your morals are, and
That's it.
from there
Hmm.
start working towards building, that wealth. And people always get wealth considered with just money, but it's not just that. It's physical wealth. There's spiritual wealth. There's family wealth. There's just the wealth to be able to like say I just woke up another day.
That's
So,
it.
like,
That's
so
it.
many people, like, take that for granted or they don't even think that's
Hmm.
wealth, but it's like, every time you ask me or I'm ask you, "How you doing?" "I'm blessed. Saw another day." So, like, even if everything's going bad or, if I hit rock bottom or, I got fired
Hmm.
from my job on a retreat, like, as long as I got to wake up and be around the people I love, and, like, I feel like that's wealth at the end of the day, and I think you've
Hmm.
explained wealth tremendously and, how to obtain it and,
Hmm.
the things to look out for it. The last thing I wanted to touch on when it comes to finances, though, and getting a little bit tangible here is just like
It's down to Cyber Genius, and the Youngest in Charge playbook is officially live. It's a step-by-step blueprint to help you secure a career in cybersecurity, become financially free in the next 5 years, and level up your health and discipline. It's $9.99, and the link to download it is in my bio.
what are some, financial things or systems that you've put into place in your life
Hmm.
that you think could maybe, help other people? And if you can go like deep on that, not the
Hmm.
typical like, save or, get a Roth
Yeah.
IRA, like, if you can say some things that have maybe, truly help you and gotten you out of that hole from where you were and where you're at
Yeah.
now.
When I was at my lowest in 2020 and I had to really grab the bull by the horn and begin to make some powerful shifts, my credit was abysmal. And
Mhm.
that's because I was living in a space of instant gratification. And I wasn't taking care of some of the things that needed to be taken care of in the moment for most of my life up until then. And it was then that I decided that I was going to change that. I was going to shift that. And I started by simply literally hitting up all the credit bureaus and doing a full run, full read on everything that was outstanding. And I started making sure that all of that was aligned. And little by little, I began to build my credit. And it started with just like one credit card. And then that credit card turned into something bigger. Next thing you know, I got my first Amex. And then the Amex turned into the Amex Platinum. And the
Mhm.
Amex Platinum to the Amex Platinum Business. And I had this just mission to not miss any payments and to make sure that everything was locked in. I went from about 400 credit score to over 800 in the course of 6 years.
Mhm.
And what that did, and a lot of people are like, well, like, who cares about credit? Listen, when credit is right, things are different. I love going to the airport with the Amex Platinum, going to the Centurion Lounge and getting some of the perks and the beauty and the
Yeah.
benefits of having things that are unlocked. And so for me, it took 6 years of me fully focusing on just my credit to get that to where it is now. Now, 6 years is a long time. That's almost
Yeah.
a half a decade of making sure everything was tight and right. But that was one of the things that I really wanted to lock in as I was playing society's game, that I needed to stop freestyling it and I needed to make sure that there was some structure. What that has done is it's brought structure into other spaces in my life. And one of the things that's been beautiful about building my own entrepreneurial endeavors, from Warrior to my human performance coaching practice to my writing and everything, I always say define yourself in a way that can't be defined and you are free.
Mhm.
Labels limit. Labels oftentimes come with their own definitions, which also includes how much you can make to be a trainer. If you go on like LinkedIn or you go on one of these
Yeah.
websites, they're going to say a trainer can only make this much. So if you accept that label, one is a slave to that label and you can't go beyond that. For me, I wanted to go beyond the definitions when it came to being a trainer. I
Mhm.
wanted to go beyond the definitions when it came to becoming a retreat facilitator. I
Mhm.
wanted to go beyond the definitions when it came to becoming a speaker and a writer. And as I opened up the doors to a life and expression beyond the definitions, so too did the ceiling blow off of my cap on what I can charge when it comes to working with me. And I have now a model that really is powerful, which is I either am going to do it for free because it's love and I'm
Mhm.
giving back. And I have this through my mentor system where people can come anytime. I've like 15 mentees that get game from me for free. And I do, give backs all the time, as you've seen in Peru.
Yep.
Or I charge an absolute premium that I feel is rooted in a reflection of what I put in to be who I am, the gifts that I'm able to give to others. I don't get caught up in the definitions of it all. And in that space, I've been able to open up the doors for wealth in a way that truly is remarkable. But more importantly than that, is exactly what's needed to continue to bring my gifts online.
Yeah, I think you keep touching on it, like, the system starts with you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're the one that has to get the system, and I think to an extent, it's like you have to you don't I don't recommend, or let me rephrase, like, I think there's one thing that people should start on and then go to the next, go to
Hmm.
the next, go to the
Hmm.
next, instead of trying to do everything all at once. I know credit definitely is a big thing.
Hmm.
I know actually understanding what it is that you make and how much you're
Hmm.
spending is another big thing as
Hmm.
well, because you can't count what you don't know.
Hmm.
I think that's another big thing, that can get touched on too when it comes to just finances. And
Hmm.
another thing, I think people just overcomplicate it a bit. Like, they think it's like, oh, you gotta invest in all these stocks. You gotta do this. You gotta
Hmm.
do that. But in reality, it's just you keep breaking it down. It's just simple habits every day,
Yeah.
consistency, and over a span. It may take a year, it may take
Yeah.
6, it may take 20, like you said. But the constant little micro wins is what's going to eventually allow you to build wealth. And I think another thing to notice too, like, and what we've been talking about, this isn't short term. This is a long term game. So, like,
Hmm.
if you're watching this, don't get so caught up with fast money, or don't get so caught up with just thinking this is just going to happen overnight. It's not. This is a process. And if you love it,
Hmm.
then, you're going to take the punches and things that come with it.
You just touched on something important. And this is one of the things, if I was younger, I wish I had taken advantage of sooner, is these small incremental wins, especially when it comes to investing.
Hmm.
Compound interest is magic
Oh, yeah.
and it's all about time. And when you're young, you have time. Even if you're older, you still have time. It's just about stacking. And one of the things I started doing around the same time I started really focusing on getting my credit right was every time I would have spare money, I would throw it in the stock market. I have several different companies in my portfolio, but my favorite is honestly Apple.
Hmm.
And every time I would get some cheese, stock of Apple here, stock of Apple there. Doesn't seem like it's a lot in the moment.
But over time,
Over time,
it
it
compounds.
compounds fast. And this is one of those things of like daily deposits and having this energy of delayed gratification.
Yeah.
Everybody can be wealthy if they discipline themselves long enough to put that coffee money towards something rather than spending it, and continuing to feed their investment portfolio long enough for it to begin to blossom. And it's so cool that you're bringing this up, because a lot of people never talk to me about this aspect of my life. But one of the reasons why I'm able to do
Yeah.
what I want, when I want, how I want, is because there's some fundamentals that I've been
Hmm.
living by that have brought this online. So thank you very much for just bringing that reflection to me.
Yeah, no problem. I think it's important, again, especially do those researches when you're, doing things in the stock market. But I just wanted to touch on things that don't get talked about
Hmm.
a lot.
Hmm.
A lot of times we focus on our careers, or if those that are locked in focus on their health, but they don't focus really on the finance,
Hmm.
and they don't have a good relationship with it. So that's, something I wanted to
Hmm.
talk about. But speaking of relationships, the next thing I wanted to get into is it's something us men enjoy a lot. It's women. We all love women. Women are awesome, but I think a lot of times, especially with young men nowadays, they don't have the best intentions with women.
Hmm.
I'll put it as simple as this. I think sometimes a lot of men try to conquer women,
Hmm.
whether that's them only wanting sex, or they're staying with a woman because she looks good, but it's toxic.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
what are, some things that you feel, especially young men, should look for when pursuing a woman? Because a woman is everything. We always hear, if you have a good wife, then it makes things that much better. So, like,
Yeah.
what would you say men should look for and not get caught up with when it comes to looking for women? Because not all women are bad and not all men are bad, So,
Yeah. My journey with women has been a long one. And
mhm.
I've finally found my woman, my goddess, my queen. Shout out to Shu.
Shout out Shu.
And for me, it took 40 years of doing the work to earn her.
Hmm.
And I say the word earn because a good woman, game changing, life changing. And you won't even open up those doors. Those doors won't even open to a good woman if a man is not
Aligned.
truly aligned, truly in his heart, truly living with integrity, and truly able to hold a woman like that. A lot of men say, yo, I want a great woman. I want a embodied woman. I want a beautiful woman. I want all these, but
What are you doing to actually
yeah,
deserve that, or like
yeah,
make
who
yourself prepared for it? Because
who
it's
are
not.
you? Yeah, who are you actually when the doors are closed? Are you
Mhm.
truly in integrity when nobody's looking? Or are you all talk and no walk? The doorways to embodied women, to attracting a beautiful woman, to keeping a beautiful woman, to going on a deep dive of exploration with a beautiful woman, those doorways will remain closed as long as a man is not truly in his heart, truly living with integrity, and truly living in alignment. On the flip side, when a man is living in his heart, when he is living in integrity, when he is living in alignment, when he is honoring the feminine, and I say this because growing up, I grew up with a lot of toxic masculinity. So it took me a long time to learn to honor the feminine. And I got to just say sorry to every woman that I've ever hurt. Remember when we were in
Yep.
Peru and we sat around the fire and we had to tie a string for every woman that has been in our lives. And for some of us, they were like,
It was a
a lot
great or
of
not.
it was like
Mine was 0, but yeah.
it was and this is a part of our own healing process as a men is to re-honor the feminine energetics. And part of the journey is, and I keep on touching on this, is this inner alignment not only attracts everything we want when it comes to wealth, when it comes to health, when it comes to life, but if we're talking about bringing the most powerful, high caliber women into our world, the most loving, nourishing women in our world, that inner alignment also attracts them as well. And to all my brothers who are on the path, there's nothing more nourishing, incredible, beautiful, expansive than a woman. And we have to create safe spaces for those women to come into our lives because they move different.
Yeah, of course.
And we as men are going to do two things. We're either going to push the beauty of the feminine away by standing in our distortion, or we're going to bring the beauty of the feminine closer by standing in our embodiment. That's the greatest invitation of our time. And again, that takes time. It
Yeah.
takes time to learn how to be a better man. And I got to give, you know, some space to honor all my brothers who don't have that locked in yet because we haven't been taught how to be
Of course.
good men. It's not like we've had brothers and grandpas and uncles and elders say, this is how you're supposed to be a man. No, most men learn how to be men through porn, through rap, through sexuality,
Homies, yeah.
the homies, yeah, instead of like learning how to move with the code.
Mhm.
What I've learned is the deeper you go, the more aligned you go, the more aligned the code comes online. And eventually you realize that your inner alignment has to be in alignment for the right alignment to find you. And when the right alignment finds you, game changing.
For sure, no doubt. I think, like, again, it all starts
Yeah,
from here and it all starts from yourself. I think another thing too is just like patience is a big thing as well. And then I think another thing that I feel attracts women and, what's attracted into me, whether I'm going to conferences or just whatever it is just, authentically being yourself. I think a lot
that's
of
the
young
key.
men these days, like they try to joke on each other, like with the homies and like, oh, I'm gonna put you in a headlock when the girls are here, or like, they try to flaunt or, flex whatever it is. But it's like a lot of women, like, cause social media has truly messed the game up when it comes to women. I see things every day of men and women bashing each other, but I think
Mhm,
just to talk about it is just like, just try to be your authentic self. Because when you're authentically you, people see that and they're like, wow, he's not like the others. Like I've had the story I told you about what happened at, the my conference, like the fact that, you're authentically yourself, you're not that type of person that these other guys are, like they'll notice that. And then it's up to you
100%.
to then be able to have the discernment to be like, okay, hey, just because she likes me, is this person actually good for me? But definitely, man, authenticity is a big thing. Another thing I want to touch
Mhm,
on too is like, how do you stay disciplined? Because, when you're with your woman, or just even for those that don't have the woman yet and they're waiting, like me, I'm personally waiting for marriage to, do the do. But like,
mhm,
how do you stay disciplined when it comes to, that stuff, and making sure that you're aligned right and that you're not doing anything to jeopardize the relationship you
mhm.
have with your woman?
I mean, there's a lot of elements to that. I think the first thing to touch on is like authenticity.
Mhm,
When you speak of authenticity, the essence and root of authenticity is truth, truthfulness. In yoga, we call it satya. When we're moving from a space of truthfulness, when we're moving from a space of honesty, when we're moving from a space of integrity, that that leads to alignment, but that also opens the doors to intimacy.
mhm,
Intimacy, into me I see. That is the essence of any really, really deep relationship, is to be fully seen. Most men don't want to be fully seen because of what might be there.
right,
Intimacy says, here is all of me. John Legend, all of me, all on the table. You know, all parts of you on the table to be seen, to be witnessed. This, when those doors are opened, is absolutely transformational. And men really just want to be, at the core of us all, want to be seen for who we are. As long as we're living in lies, as long as we're living out of integrity, as long as we're living illusions, we can
mhm,
never fully be seen. And as long as we've never fully been seen or allow for our truest expression to come online. So when you're fully seen, that opens up the doors to so much power.
mhm,
And that right there is one of those things that a lot of men are working towards. Again, like the right relationship is going to allow for all aspects of you to be seen and be witnessed. And then on the other side of it is to have the confidence to know if a woman is actually able to meet you in that space.
yeah,
You know, the downfall of many great women is a toxic man, and the downfall of many great men is a toxic woman.
mhm,
And how do you know what is toxic for you or not toxic for you? Based off your alignment. This is like the biggest truth serum that I could share, is like we attract what we are.
yeah,
And so all these people that I know who are in toxic relationships and they're like, my boyfriend's so toxic, my girl's so toxic. There's no good men out there. There's no good women out there. No, actually, there's a lot of good men out there. There's a lot of good women out there. And if you're attracting toxic, the only finger you need to be pointing out is one back at yourself.
yeah,
And this is the invitation. This opens up the doors to so much power when we finally take that, again, radical responsibility of our energetics and how we show up. Therein lies the beauty, and that eventually opens up the doorways to the greatest masterclass of them all, which is relationship with a significant other.
yeah,
It is hard
mhm,
and beautiful and revealing and deep. But when you have a woman that has also done the work, and this is one of the things I'll say, man or woman, if your partner has also done the work or is also in the work, that's when the grounds become very fertile to build something real. If only
yeah,
one person's doing the work, the other person's not doing the work,
ain't gonna work.
it's not going to work. And two dysfunctional people cannot dysfunction their way into function.
Mhm,
It is a one-way street to like more toxicity. And a lot of people just don't want to look at it that way. But love can be blind. So it's also about coming into these spaces whole as possible.
Nah, man, you touched on so much important things. Thank you for just breaking that down as far as just love and, what to look for and different things like that. I've seen my fair share of cases of toxicity with relationships I've seen from afar, but then I've also seen like the beauty of it, especially like, the biggest example is my mother and father. They've been married for 20 plus years. Yeah, they got the ups and downs. Yeah, I hear them sometimes arguing a little bit, but when two people are dedicated to what it is that they're doing, then, they make their sacrifices and they make, things happen. So, just to give light and thank you for sharing that and to let people know that like there are positive
Hmm.
relationships out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as we're winding down a little bit, I want to get into a little bit of like family, but then also something that I think doesn't get talked about enough, especially, going into that, the dark in a
Hmm.
sense is grief.
Mm.
Because I know we always talk about the light and we always talk about, different things like that, but you have to be able to sit in the dark and you have to
Hmm.
be able to, know like, hey, not every day is going to be perfect, but I at least have a positive mindset about it. I know I can get, through it. You mentioned it multiple times during the pod about, your upbringing and being in a, single parent household and, not meeting your dad till you were 25 and things like that.
Hmm.
Like, and being in the streets of East Las Vegas, like what made you not wanna be a statistic? What made you just, like, stray away from it? Because 'Cause I've had my own experiences with my family and,
Hmm.
we've been affected by the incarceration system, the war on drugs,
Hmm.
from my
Hmm.
aunts, to uncles, to even my own father. So, like, I could get my reason later, but, like, what would you say made you stick to the path that you're on, not go down that road of the street life or just
Hmm.
falling in line like, past family members that are friends you've
Hmm.
seen?
My mother, rest in power, Elizabeth Collinsworth, she gave me two gifts, most important gifts that I've ever been given, the most
Mhm.
important gems that I've built my entire career off of: God and gratitude. She taught me God at a very young age, no matter how bad it was, no matter how poor we were, no matter how hard it became, God was still in the mix. She always gave thanks to God. She was one of these women who was completely broke but still pay her tithing.
Oh, yeah.
And that devotion has always been with me. And I felt God at a very young age in me, and I still feel God to this day on all days. And I always say, if it's not with God, for God, through God, I ain't with it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is gratitude, learning to find the blessings in the moment. You said earlier, how are you doing? Blessed. No matter how challenging it can
Yeah.
be, the blessings are there. When one has God and gratitude, everything else falls into place. That's the most powerful alchemy one can move with, is to move with a sense of purpose where you know that like there's something bigger than you that got your back, and then being thankful for it all, but not just being thankful for the easy things,
Being thankful for the challenges,
even the
the
challenges.
ups, the downs, the failures, because it all
Yeah.
it's not failures, it's lessons.
It's lessons, the heartbreak. Even when my parents passed, thank you. Thank you for this moment in time, for teaching me what I need to be taught. Thank you for the heartbreaks. Thank you for the failures. Thank you for everything that has ever been done to me,
Mhm,
everything I've had to overcome. Th- that there has alchemized so much for me. And I think in a world where grief is inevitable, we're all going to have to walk through the portals of grief to learn to find the gratitude in the dark night of the soul, to learn to find God in the dark night of the soul.
mhm,
That changes the texture of the dark night of the soul. And what one realizes is that there are a lot of beautiful things that are there to be accessed and unlocked
mhm,
in the caves of our grief. And for me, that's been one of the most powerful game changers I've been gifted in my early 40s, is this relation to grief. It truly is the one thing that I feel connects all human beings, all
mhm,
ages, is we all are moving through something that sometimes is not seen on the surface, but is there deep inside. And our pain connects us a lot more than our wins.
mhm,
And this is one of the things that I'm so passionate about now, is just like being a safe space for people to bring their pain, bring their wounds, bring their grief to the altar. And instead of needing to change it, sitting with it and allowing grief as a master teacher to do what it needs to do. And, one of the things I would say that comes online after you live enough life, I never thought in a million years my mom and my dad would pass away within 18 months.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, like, for most of my life, I just feared. I was like, man, one day my mom's gonna pass. I don't know how I'm gonna be. One day my dad's gonna pass. And then boom, it happens. That there changed everything in me, shifted everything in me, but it opened up the doors to a lesson plan that has dramatically altered the texture of my life in the most beautiful way. And one of the only reasons that I've been able to sit in the grief of it all and alchemize it into pure magic and power is because of those tools that my mother gave me, which is God and gratitude.
The 2 Gs, that's where it's at for sure. But, yeah, because you keep talking about grief and, like, it's a sensitive subject for sure, like,
Yeah.
I haven't lost my parents, it sucks to say yet, but, like, obviously that's gonna happen at some point, hope it doesn't happen for a long time. But, how have you dealt with grief? Because I know it can be a touchy subject. Like, I've lost all 3 of my grandparents. Like, I lost my dad's mom on Mother's Day, you
Mm,
know, seeing, like, when I was talking about in Peru, like, how I've seen my grandmother's body in all forms from when she was older to when she was sick to when she was lifeless on the morgue. And,
mhm,
like, at 10, 11 years old, you don't know how to process that. So, like, for the viewers out there, like, one, how do you deal with grief? And then
mhm,
also, like, how can somebody start working towards processing it properly
mhm,
so then it doesn't overtake it? Because I
mhm.
know when you don't acknowledge grief, it can eat you up.
Yeah, yeah, that's really important. For me, grief was an opportunity for me to feel deeper.
Mhm,
And a couple things happen when grief comes online. Either people try to run from it and numb it, and that's when you see people fall into the vices that are toxic and that take us further away from the human experience. Or a person, and this is the harder path, is to use all the tools
mhm,
and as healthy as possible, be with it. The beautiful thing is, like, grief passes eventually, but
right,
grief has its own lesson plan, and it's designed to dramatically alter everything that we are and inevitably bring us closer to and deeper into our hearts, deeper into love,
mhm,
deeper into compassion, deeper into empathy. When somebody comes to me now and says, my parents died, my heart opens so deeply for them. And they feel that because I've been there. I know that. I felt that. I know what it is. I didn't know how deep I could cry until I looked at my mom's body laying there on the table and I saw burn marks across her face.
mhm,
And the tears that came out of me were medicine like I've never ever experienced before.
mhm,
And because I have the tools, I was able to sit in that deep portal of grief with so much gratitude to be able to feel that way, to be able to understand that, like, God's plan doesn't always make sense, but it always makes sense.
yeah,
There's a reason why human beings love so deeply.
mhm,
And, for me, the other thing with grief is, like, grief is not supposed to be a solitary journey.
yeah,
Grief is supposed to be witnessed. And so for those that are moving through grief, and it's not always just death, sometimes it's the grief of leaving behind old friends and stepping into something new. Sometimes it's the grief of losing a job. Sometimes it's the grief of moving cities. Sometimes it's the grief of
starting something new.
starting something new. It's so important for grief to be witnessed. Grief is supposed to be communal.
Mhm,
As men, we're taught to suffer in silence, but a lot of women pick up that trait as well. Like, I
yeah,
can't bring it to the table unless I'm perfect. The truth is, like, the most important thing is that you're human. To be able to bring all of our aspects to the altar of community, whether it's one friend or many friends or just one person that you feel
mhm,
you can be witnessed by, this allows for grief to move. And so my deepest invitation is, one, find gratitude and find God, universe, whatever your thing is. And the second is, don't suffer alone. Grief is meant to be held. And when it's shared by others, it becomes medicine for the whole community rather than just yourself.
Hey everybody, I created something called the Youngest in Charge Network. This network is for young professionals who want more out of life and are serious about leveling up. If this interests you, join my school community to learn more about it.
so true, so true. And, even for those people that may not have the mentors or father figures, I think it comes back to the point of, like, not necessarily how bad do you want it, but it's like if you want the help, if you want the game, if you want the mentorship, you have to be willing to go put yourself out there
That's
and
it.
go take these risks, and go to, these places, even if it costs, or even, you got to figure out a way because if there's a will, there's going to be a way to figure it out. So I think, you touched on some great things, brother. Um, when it comes to that, finally, I didn't, cry when it comes to talking about grandparents. I think Peru kind of, got that all out of me. But speaking of Peru, should kind of close this out before we get into like the quick hitter question. For those that don't know, Brandon runs a retreat called Warrior Retreats, and it's a transformative process. I like to consider it a rite of passage. It's kind of hard to describe what it is unless you've been through it, because I don't want to like dumb it down, because there's just so much stuff that has came from it. Like, what is it about Peru and like just the soul of the country on why it's so
Mhm.
transformative, and why when you've taken people down here, why they've had so many great
Mhm.
transformations, even if it happened right after they left, or if they happen years later.
Yeah, in short, I didn't meet my father till I was 25, and he was living in Peru.
Mhm.
And when I went down there and started developing my relationship with him, that opened up the doors for me to really begin to step into a deeper level of my manhood. And so after 6 years of going down to Peru, working in the hospitals, working in the jungles, learning deeper about myself, I wanted to share it with some friends. So I invited a couple friends. Next thing you know, I had 20 people down there, and Warrior Retreats, one was built.
Yeah.
And for 10 years in a row, I took people down to Peru. And the essence of it was to create our own rite of passage,
Mhm.
our own initiation, our own contained encounter with the unknown, starting in the Amazon jungle and going all the way to the Andes. And what it has turned into is a 16-day journey with some of the most amazing people in the world as a means to unlock a deeper level of love, a deeper level of leadership, and a deeper level of service. And now we've had 350 people come down to Peru, which is absolutely wild. We've raised over 350,000 US dollars to give back to the people of Peru. And for me, it's just such an honor. But it's funny, after I finished my last retreat, the
Mhm.
Dom was on, Warrior 10,
Yep.
I realized that it actually was all for me, meaning I created Warrior as a means to initiate myself into a deeper level of my own
Mhm.
leadership and my own manhood and my own heart. And it just so happened that I was able to share with so many amazing people. And it's not done.
Yeah.
It's just transformed. And so now, as I'm stepping into the fatherhood portals and I'm stepping into these new levels,
Mhm.
Warrior will also transform with it. But I was so grateful to have you on that journey with us. And Peru, for me, is one of the greatest codes in the game,
Mhm.
but you have to do it right. You have to make sure you go with the right people. Otherwise, you might
Right.
not get the codes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
Yeah.
in any country,
Yeah. Yeah.
you've
Exactly.
told me this plenty of times. Like, a lot of people take and they don't give, and
That's it.
I think the center of this podcast, outside of like it being from the heart, is like being in service to others, and it's been a blessing to just see like your service from the Jump for Joy days all the way to Peru. It's just a tip to your hat, man, and things for that. But you know, I want to talk about a little bit more about the retreats, and I'll get to, like, my stuff in a minute, but you had a unbelievable chance to see, I think it's the first time in history within your retreat that a father and son went on the retreat together. Because for those that don't know, my dad has known Brandon for 20 some years. My dad went on Warrior 2, which was in 2017.
Hmm.
I went on 2 of them. I went on Warrior Brotherhood, which was 2024, and then me and my dad went together on Warrior 10, which was last year. So this is, some years in the making. Like, how did it feel to just be able to see, like, a father-son dynamic, and, like, what did you think of that?
Yeah, that was one of the most powerful relationships I've first ever witnessed in a container like that. To be able to have a father and son doing the work together, I
Mhm.
feel like that should be the norm, but it's like the exception. You're like, you don't ever see anything like that.
Yeah,
And I feel like you all were doing lineage work. Like you were here healing your entire ancestral lineage, your whole, father line to in a way that can only be done when you do things like that. For the fathers out there, like bring your sons deeper into your world, and for
yeah.
the sons out there, invite your father into your world
Yeah,
and see what comes online. And it was honestly one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced. You shared a picture recently of you and your dad in the Maloka, and I
yeah,
posted it on our Warrior Retreats page. It's absolutely beautiful. And so it just really showed me how powerful it is when we, open up the doors for a deeper level of connection to come online. And I've seen both you and your father blossom as a result of that. Not saying it's always easy, but
yeah.
yeah, it was incredible.
Oh man, that's awesome to hear. Like it's a two-way street. We both got to kind of invite each other into each other's worlds. But, a thing that, I've enjoyed about my dad and, I think this is the best gift he's ever given me outside of, obviously birth and, putting me in positions to win. Like the best gift he's ever given me is not letting his generational trauma with his father
Mm,
affect the relationship he has, not with just me, but my siblings. And like, that's the greatest gift, dad, you've ever given me. So I want to tip your hat off to you for that. Like, that, when,
amen.
both of them are doing the work, when you have people that help surround you with that, even through the trials and tribulations, it makes it all worth it. And it was dope getting to see my dad in that light. Like, I got to see him smile. Like, I hadn't seen him smile like that since Jump for Joy. Like, it was awesome to see it. Like, he's eating corn. Like, he never eats corn. He's like stingy with it too. Like, he doesn't eat veggies. So, like, to see him eat corn, to see him just do stuff that was out of the ordinary, it was like, I'm literally crying inside. I'm thinking Brandon every night I go to bed. Like, oh man, it was amazing.
Shout out to Aunt.
Yeah, man. Shout out to you, Pops. Last thing I want to touch on with Warrior before we get to the quick hitters and get out of here. I just wanted to, because I know it's an extensive process when it comes to Warrior. It's,
Yeah,
a months drawn out thing. And from the outside looking in, somebody may be like, "Oh, you only picked Dominic because his dad for 20 years and
yeah.
they've been business partners." But like, what is it? I don't think I've ever asked you this. Like, what is it that you saw in me that decided that I was ready and that you chose me? Because for those that don't know, I applied to Warrior 8 and I didn't get it. And that was because I just wasn't ready. And fair enough. I had to mature and I had to do things to, level up. But, what did you see in me and what made you want to choose me for the retreat, not just for Warrior Brotherhood, but for Warrior 10 as well?
It's your discipline and who you are as a young man and your consistency and you showing up time and time again, doing your best, even if your best is not perfect.
Hmm.
As long as you know you're in the game, you're giving it your all. And that's all anybody wants. And so I saw you at Warrior Brotherhood and you impress so many people with just who you are in your authenticity, in your purity. And when it came to Warrior 10, it was like not even a question that you were exactly the right fit. And one of the things I love most about bringing young energy in, especially like you, is it's quickly like realize that you have wisdom to teach the older people there as well. There's something
Yeah.
about fresh young energy that rubs off
Hmm.
on everybody. And so to have like another generation at our experience became medicine for everybody there. But what's cool is like you have the tools. And again, very few young individuals like yourself put themselves in a situation to be around a whole bunch of leaders that are
Yeah.
20 years older than them. And I can only imagine that the game that you got is still coming online,
Yeah, it is.
So for us, it was not, it was a no-brainer. And this only the beginning.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? We're just getting started.
Yes, sir. Nah, thank you, man. It was great hearing that. Just to get into the last little section of the pod, just some quick hitters, like whatever comes to your mind,
Cool.
whatever you think, and then we'll end it from there. All right, first one is who's your favorite artist? And this doesn't have to be music. This can be anything, poetry,
Yeah.
reading, books, whoever it is.
My favorite artist is Pablo Picasso.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite museum is the Pablo Picasso Museum in Barcelona because it has like 70 years of his work. And for me, he is the quintessential example of somebody who allowed their art to be birthed and to die as many times as is needed to fully become an expressed individual. And it is a reminder for me to allow the old to die as many times as needed for my highest expression to come online.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Favorite movie genre?
Favorite movie genre has to be, I'm gonna say documentary. Yeah,
Those are good. That's a good one. I love the sports docs. Those have been my
yeah.
thing for years. What is one place that a man should travel in his lifetime?
Oh, that's a hard one, man. Peru. Peru.
Who would have guessed? What's one book a young man should read?
The Alchemist, Paolo Coelho.
That's a good one.
Read it once a year.
I gotta get back up on it. I read
Yeah.
it in high school as a
Yeah.
senior. That book and Chop Wood Carry Water
Yeah.
changed my whole thought process in life for sure. Another quick hitter. What is one thing that you had to let go to get to where you're at today?
I had to let go of so much. Wow. The one thing though that I had to really let go of, I would say is alcohol. Yeah, I let go of the alcohol. I let go of the substances that were making me small.
If you could tell your 18-year-old self one thing, what piece of advice would that be?
Don't take life too seriously. You're beautiful. I love you. Focus, be dedicated, and keep chopping wood, carrying water. Your
Yes.
life is going to blow your mind if you stay with it.
Yes, sir. And the last one, if you can describe Dominic Alegrete in one word, what would it be? And when you answer him, you could just say, in one word, I would describe Dominic Alegrete as.
In one word, I would describe Dominic Alegrete as a milk chocolate drip of swagger. Mic drop.
There we go, y'all. There we have it. Thank you so much, Brandon, for coming on, man.
My
I
brother.
appreciate you. It's more to come.
More to come.
Serve.
Yes.
More to be just better. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you all for tuning in to Breach One, Teach One in my first episode. Thank you so much. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let me know down in the comments who you want to see next. And if you want exclusive first dibs access to this interview, please join my Youngest in Charge Network school community. The link to that will be in the bio. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and let's become the youngest in charge, not just for ourselves, but for our families.